Taiwan is bursting with heaps of fun places to explore. Join me, Amber Hatfield, as I hit up travel hotspots, soak up some culture, and hunt down hidden gems. Let's go! Today on Let's Go, I'm joined by Kim.
Hello.
And Kim, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit first, and then we're going to start talking about travel and all your different recommendations in Taiwan.
Cool. I'm Kim, and I've lived in Taiwan for the past 12 years. This is the longest I've lived in another foreign country, but I've also lived in Japan for a few months, studying Japanese there. I'm a language crazy girl. I speak a little bit of 4 languages, and I like to travel.
Oh, how's your Chinese?
Pretty good. I can read and write. I can read and write quite a bit. Yeah, but my English is apparently terrible now.
Did you ever formally learn Chinese while you've been in Taiwan?
Not in Taiwan. I studied it in university.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So I majored in Spanish and I minored in Chinese and Japanese.
Oh, is learning Chinese one of the reasons why you wanted to come to Taiwan?
Yes.
Okay, right. And what are some of the things that you love about Taiwan? Some of the things that you love the most from all the time that you've been here?
I always say the people. The Taiwanese people are lovely. I just had like a lovely experience today with a child at 7-Eleven. He didn't have enough money. He was so cute. He had a Kinder Egg and like some juice and something else that he wanted to buy, and he thought he'd had exact change, but he didn't.
Aww.
And I'd accidentally cut in front of him because I just didn't see him because I was really, in a hurry today. And he was like, no, it's okay, in Chinese. He's like, it's okay, 没关系啊. And so he let me go in front of him while he was trying to sort out his change. And when I realized he didn't have enough, I was like, oh, child, here. And I just helped him pay for it. And he was so shocked, but it was so cute. And he was so polite. It's just like stuff like that is what I love about Taiwan.
The people in Taiwan are great. I mean, people are so friendly. And that's one of the things people say, like when you first come to Taiwan, they talk about Taiwan 人的人情味, right?
Yes.
And you learn that when you're in Chinese class. At least I did. And the teachers will talk about Taiwan's people kind of being friendly and warm.
And making guanxi.
And I think it's really true. Have you ever lived anywhere apart from Taipei in Taiwan?
I briefly lived in Ilan for about half a year.
Okay. Did you find it was kind of different?
It's
from
very
Taipei?
different. It's a very different vibe. Yeah.
Can you describe it?
It's calmer. It's quieter. There's more Taiwanese spoken, like commonly. The accent is slightly different on Chinese because of how predominant Taiwanese is there comparatively. It's almost like a beach town, but not quite because it's not right on the coast. But it's easy to get there. I mean, it is everywhere here, but like specifically, it's like Ilan and Jiaoxi are pretty close, so it's easy to get there.
And Jiaoxi is the place where you can go to hot springs.
Yes.
So did you hot spring a lot while you
Not
stayed
a lot.
there? No?
I've done it though, yeah. I've done it in Jiaoxi. It's a nice place for it. So is Beito. I was like, come on. Yeah, I've been there too. I think I actually like the Jiaoxi ones better, but they're also more geared towards tourists, I think. And Beito, the one that I went to, not so much because the school that I worked for had like set it all up.
Yeah, I was just thinking because I lived in Tainan before. I lived in Tainan for 5 years.
It's lovely.
Before I lived in Taipei. So that was the first place I came when I
Very
first went to Taiwan.
Very different in Tainan as well.
Yeah, exactly. So the people there are also, I could say, even friendlier than Taipei, but it's just normally that in a big city, I feel like people are kind of more in a rush. They've got more things to do, right? But in Tainan, people are more
chill,
laid back, chill, kind of slower pace of life.
Ilan too, yeah. It's very similar.
Yeah, but they also speak a lot of Taiwanese.
Yes.
Do you know any Taiwanese?
Just very, very little. So yeah, like wakarigong and paisei and gine and just like little things here and there. I think I probably understand more than I can recall, like actively recall. Because sometimes people will say it to me and I just answer them and like 5 minutes later I walk away and I'm like, wait a minute. What just happened?
Yeah. So I think there's quite a big difference between even the cities of Taiwan. I mean, they are quite different.
There's different accents, there's different dialects of Taiwanese, and then the tribes have their own languages as well. So it's quite hard to learn. And there's no written form of it either. Of generally Taiwanese, there's no written form. So it's hard to learn.
So as a language nut, have you kind of thought, I should learn Taiwanese at any point? You have? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But I just never had time to like dedicate to it, which is unfortunate. But like I said, I pick up on things. I'm like a sponge, so I pick up on things here and there. But it's harder in Taipei because not as many people use it in Taipei.
Yeah. I even find the same thing with Mandarin, actually. I find it, even in Taipei, much harder to use it because so many people speak English to me.
Yeah, I've noticed that recently. Yeah, like in the past 5 or so years, it's changed a lot in that regard.
Oh, really? I'd love to know more about that.
Well, when I first moved here, I felt like I had to use Chinese all the time, and I had just graduated from uni with just my 3 years of Mandarin Chinese, and so I was the one translating for people in my training group and stuff. And I mean, I had to use it even in 7-Eleven. I was using it, and the signage wasn't so great. It's still not that great, but they are getting better here. It's similar to Japan in the respect that the English has improved a lot, but slowly, and then just spiked up out of nowhere because people will talk to me in English and I won't notice it because I default to Chinese. And it really throws me off. But yeah, it's definitely improved a lot. And there's definitely more, I want to say foreigner friendly, but just more diversity in terms of the food and language and less staring, which is cool.
Okay, because it's funny that you say that, actually, because when I first came here, I've also been here for 9 years. So when I first came here, but I was straight into Tainan. So I never really spent much time in Taipei until I moved here a couple of years ago. So I always thought that the reason for kind of the less staring or maybe the more talking in English was because I was in the capital city, which is probably part of the reason. But it's interesting that maybe that's also just because the amount of foreigners in general has just increased in the country.
By a lot. Yeah, it really throws me off. It feels like it's kind of happened overnight, and I know logically it hasn't. I don't have a good concept of time myself, but it's definitely changed a lot in the past 5 years, maybe even longer than that. But it's weird, to see people defaulting to English so quickly. It's cool, but it's very disarming at times.
Yeah, definitely. Are there any other things that you've noticed over the time of being in Taiwan that have changed quite a lot, some differences?
There's been more Mexican restaurants and Spanish oriented, I guess, fusion cuisine restaurants, because my family's Puerto Rican on my mom's side, so I'm always looking for that. And so that's been really cool. And there's quite a few really good places like La Fonda and Masa Tacos Okay and AJ Taco. There's a bunch of places in Taipei specifically that are really good to go to for that, especially La Fonda. It's really traditional tasting. So that's been really cool for me. It's like a personal cultural anecdote, I guess. So
yeah, cool. I've never really had actual kind of Mexican food because in the UK I feel like we don't have that much anyway.
I've been there. You don't.
So even in Taiwan, when I have it, I'm not really sure whether or not it's good or not.
Go to La Fonda. I think it's in Gongguan, around there.
Okay.
It's easy to get to.
Okay, that's a good recommendation. All right, I want to talk about, over this time that you've been in Taiwan, what would be maybe your top 5 places to visit? If someone wants to come here, what would you recommend, or what's your favorite spots?
My number 1 favorite spot is Jiufen. And it's not because of the Ghibli movies, although it is the inspiration for Spirited Away, allegedly. There's artwork and stuff that Hayao Miyazaki used it. You can see his reference from Jiufen. And so it's always generally filled with Japanese tourists. But I just like the aesthetic of it. And the snacks, and there's a built-in night market into the mountain and stuff, and it's just a really cool place. And there's a really beautiful view of Keelung from there, or Geelong in Chinese, and that's my top place to go. It's very busy, very busy, so I highly recommend going on New Year's Eve or the day before New Year's Eve, because it is not as busy on that day because everybody wants to go to Taipei for the fireworks.
Okay, good tip.
That would be my first one. My second one would be Hualien. I've only been once, unfortunately.
Okay.
But if you like hiking or outdoorsy stuff, that's a great place to go, especially for Taroko Gorge, Taloco. It's beautiful. Lots of fun stuff to see there. Yelio is cool because that's where the Geopark is. Pingdong has a really good aquarium that I like. And then Kending is a national park. So those would probably be my top 5.
Yeah, I've actually been to Pingdong, Hengshun, and Kending a lot of times, but I never even went in the aquarium once.
It's really cute. You can actually stay the night. I did that. Yeah.
I heard that because actually when I used to work in Tainan, I used to work at a school, and one of the graduation trips for the kids was to go overnight and stay in there, and you sleep underneath the exhibit, which has got the beluga whale.
You can choose.
Okay.
So I chose the penguin exhibit because it would be colder because I sleep in an ice box. That was really cool. And then, like you stay the night, you can go in the back of the aquarium and see how things work and stuff. And then we didn't realize it was specifically geared towards kids because there's like a DIY clay thing where you make little animals with it. And we were like, well, whatever. My friend and I were like, let's just do it. It's fine. It was cute. And it was a neat experience. I enjoyed that.
Have you been to aquariums in a lot of places? Would you compare it to other countries or other places' aquariums and say that it's got a lot more stuff, or no?
No, it's because I've been to the Osaka Aquarium. I've been to some in the States, and of the ones that I remember going to, the Osaka one is very, very impressive. It's huge, and this one, it's nice and it's well run, and it looks like they treat the animals well. But it's nothing in like size comparison and animal diversity. It's nothing compared to most other aquariums, but it's definitely worth going to, I think.
Okay, cool. And I'd love to hear if you have any kind of interesting travel stories or fun stories of traveling in Taiwan.
I do.
Ooh, yay!
I actually went down to Kunding for my birthday right before Typhoon Usagi was hitting. And we thought it'd be fine, but it was not fine because it did not veer away like we'd hoped. And so then the next day there were like evacuation orders and stuff because Kunding is like, you have to get on a bridge to go over to Kunding. So it's kind of precarious to be there in a typhoon. You don't want to be stuck there because what if something washes out, right? So they're like, maybe if you don't live here, you should probably go. But there were no taxis or anything. And so I told my friends, I was like, we should just stay in the hotel, but our hotel's right by the beach. So that wasn't ideal. And so I talked to the hotel guys. I was the only one in my group that could speak any Chinese. And he called a friend up who was a taxi driver, but he was off that day. He said, he'll do it. He'll take you. So we packed up in his cab and we were driving. And we just watched trees flying across the road. And he would say in Chinese, like, oh, how wish you know. And my friends were like, what's going on? I was like, he says it's fine. It's fine. We're good.
Weisha means dangerous, by the way.
So it was not fine. It was not ideal. But he basically outran the typhoon and got us to Kaohsiung safely, and he was a legend.
Wow.
Very
when
cool.
was that?
Usagi was, I want to say, God, I'm so old. That was maybe 10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
10, 11, 9, maybe 9 or 10 years ago.
Okay. I see.
It was fun, though, because like the night before, we were like, it's just rain and stuff, and we sat outside having like, there's outdoor bars and like carts and stuff, and just drinking there. Like not a lot because I'm not a big drinker, but just it was cool, a neat experience.
Yeah. Sometimes I think in Taiwan, I don't know if the typhoons are that bad in certain areas. Like I guess they're often really bad on the East Coast, but I've never really experienced one that I thought where I was at that time was really, really bad.
Yeah.
I've never seen like really things flying around like that and stuff. So.
Yeah, I was here for Sol Dolor. It wrecked my apartment. So yeah, I woke up to it basically raining inside my apartment because the guy that lived above me did not clean his drains out properly. And so yeah, that was fun.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Let's talk about maybe some of the must-see. I guess maybe it could be the same as your favorites, but what do you think would be some must-see things in Taiwan if someone comes here for like a holiday?
Any old street. I love going to old streets personally. I like the brick roads and stuff and the aesthetic of that. Dihua Street is the old street in Taipei. Probably one of many, but like that's like a big famous one and it's quite nice. There's a temple there. Jiufan, obviously. Like I'm always going to sing Jiufan's praises. And Kaohsiung's cool because if you go around, there's a lake with like a ton of temples around it. And I'm drawing a blank on the name of it right now, but one of them's really famous because it has the head of a tiger and a head of a dragon. And you go in one side and go out the other to get some good luck. And you can rent bikes and just cycle around the whole thing if that's your deal. I'm not very athletic, so I just walk. But there's always food stands and lots of stuff going on. And I like that place a lot. It's very pretty, especially at night. There's also like the Love River, the Aihe down there. And you have to see Taroko Gorge.
Yeah.
You have to.
I think it's definitely a must.
And Sun Moon Lake and Alishan. Like those are like the big major ones to hit. I've been to all of those too, and they were quite nice. Sun Moon Lake, people like to go to watch the sunrise. When I went, it was foggy, so I did not get up for it. I'm not a morning person, so.
I want to talk about how like Taiwan might have maybe changed or influenced you as a person. I feel like if you came here just after uni, which is kind of like how I did, how do you feel like in this time that you've been in Taiwan, being in this different culture, so different from the one that you grew up in, I assume? How do you think that's maybe kind of impacted you as a person, or maybe your adventure spirit or anything like that?
I think I've gotten more confident since I moved here. One, because like I was teaching, and so that was sort of forced confidence development, I guess. But also because my friends that I had here in the beginning, none of them spoke Chinese, so I was always translating and stuff. So I became a little bit more outgoing in terms of like talking to people. But it helps a lot that everyone here is very friendly and willing to converse with you.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like in Japan, people tend to be a little bit shyer.
Right.
And more modest, and which is fine, and that's changed quite a bit as well. But like, it's a different dichotomy, right? So my Chinese improved in a very different way than my Japanese did in Japan,
right?
Because people are more willing to correct you and teach you
Mm-hmm.
on the fly and stuff, right? And work with you, and you can just act like a fool trying to like gesture for what you want. And like I picked up on a little bit of Taiwanese sign language, and because I used to know a little bit of ASL too when I was younger. So I feel like it made me smarter and more in terms of like worldly, sounds really obnoxious, but like worldly wisdom, I guess, and just like being more aware of other cultures.
Yeah.
I mean, like I grew up in a mixed household, so I've always had a little bit different perspective, I think. So coming here wasn't like a big culture shock to me, because Chinese culture and Spanish culture is quite similar in a lot of ways. But I think if I had to pick one thing, it would be my confidence level in talking to people in general, because I'm quite shy, which is not coming across at all with the babbling I'm doing, but I really am, I promise.
Yeah, that's interesting. For myself, because I do think about that sometimes, and I think about the amount of time I've been here, and like how may I have been if I had remained in the UK and not come here and been here for these kind of formative years of my adulthood, I guess. And I do think that I have a lot more interaction with people from different cultures, not just from Taiwan, but as in I've had a lot of friends that aren't even from Taiwan. They're from various countries from around the world, which I just think that if I'd have lived in the UK in the town where I was from or something, I would mainly probably just have had friends from the UK. And I think it's really interesting because I do think, I have like, Vietnamese friends or like Indonesian friends or friends from so many different places, and it's really interesting.
Yeah, it kind of opens up the door to the whole world.
That's about all we've got time for today's episode with Kim. It was a really great chat with her. I loved hearing about all her favourite destinations in Taiwan. You can join us next week where I continue my chat with Kim, where we talk about Cambodia and her experiences travelling there. I'll see you next week on Let's Go.